Here with Ari, one of my favorite people in the world, who I keep bugging all the time. For he's just an incredible, business companion, or your best friend in marketing, is what he likes to say. And I met. Did we meet in 2020 or 2021? I can't remember. You're in Australia, first of
I'm
all.
in Australia, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was 2020. It was like,
2020.
yes.
I think it was because I remember we were talking about you couldn't leave, and and so we really got into talking about copy. But before we get moving along, tell us about you so that the viewers can get an idea of who Ari is and what you offer, what you do.
So look, I look at myself as very a regular person. Like a lot of these marketers are very attack, 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 very,
Right.
I don't know, in their own marketing world. I think of myself as just a regular person, and I just want regular people to understand marketing. I
Mhm.
don't want it to be fancy jargon. I don't want it to be something so complex that it's like a maze. And I think a lot of marketers put people in this maze just so they're confused, and just makes the average person not want to like put their services out there and not know the right way. And they're sort of stuck in this trap that, oh, without this huge company, I'm not going to be able to do it myself. I don't understand the jargon. I don't understand how it really works. And I just like to simplify it just at a human level. It's just a human to human, except you're speaking to many humans who are just like you, and you're building a tribe of people that are just congruent and on the same wavelength as you. It's like a caveman never had to learn about marketing, but they understood they had to build their tribe of people to just grow their influence. And that's what the survival was. And that's just in our human brains always. So I just try to bring that back to the primal being of what it is, and just make people, I guess, enjoy it and take it for what it is, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I think a lot of people are appreciating just getting back to being connected on a normal way versus all the noise out there. Tell me a little bit more, though, about your experience. I know, and more of your professional like acumen, what your title is, just for a title purpose. I know you don't like titles, but and then your experience. You worked with, if we can say King Kong, and you worked with Sabri Suby, who's pretty just scaled off the charts as far as popularity now.
Mhm.
And so tell me about your experience on what got you in to be so excited about, I don't want to just say the word copywriting, because it makes it sound like people don't really know really what copywriting really is. Even they think it's like some you read in a newspaper, which it is, but it's more than that. And that's why, I want to delve, and I'm sure what we'll do is this series with Ari, because there's so much to go into, and I do want to do a pip deck challenge with you on one of these.
Yes, for
Okay.
sure, for sure.
So please tell us more about what this whole thing of copy and offers and all this stuff that people get so confused about.
So I'll start from one. Like when people don't know what copywriting is, it's like I get that a lot, because when I tell people copywriter, they think it's some legal term, like, oh, legal documents, like the
Right.
copyright issue. I'm like, no, no, nothing like that. So I don't even like saying that. The way I just say it to people is like, oh, those people that know how to grow your business. Like I just know how to just get the customers into your business. And oh, wow, everyone understands it when you say it like that, and they're more intrigued. It opens sort of a door. But when I say words they don't understand copywriting, it closes that door,
Hmm.
because our brain is very like, whatever's familiar to us, we're going to bring it in. If it's not familiar to us, we don't know what that is, we're going to chuck it away and pretend we understand. And that's a lot how marketers speak to other people, and that's why I'm sort of trying to get away with that. But it's just speaking to another human, like the bare minimum. It's just that, putting your offer out there and just connecting to another person. I guess the way I started is, like my background, I'm from Afghanistan. So when my parents first moved to Melbourne, Australia, we opened like a small, like a garage, I guess, was a mechanic's workshop. Um, and my uncle, who lived in New York, so he used to come over all the time. Like, look, I did very well in business. He had a diner, which like he's did pretty well and made a couple millions from it, like a small diner. It was called Larry's Diner.
Larry's Diner.
Larry's Diner. It's probably somewhere, I don't know, like I don't know if it's still there, but this was 27 years ago or something. So he would bring all these Dan Kennedy books to my dad and just say, look, this is what copywriting is, this is what marketing is, it'll really help you. And my dad didn't understand. He just thought, no, I'm not going to use this. I don't know what it is, writing for your business. So I guess I had that first, the books were there for me. And I always thought, what is this? What is this? And 7-Eleven, when 7-Eleven came to Melbourne, it just wiped out my dad's business.
Mm,
So I guess it always gave me this trauma inside that, look, if you're not shrewd at business, you just get trammed over. Like, so
right.
you need to really know what's going on. So maybe it was just by accident that all these books were around me.
Hmm.
Um, And then during high school, it sort of hit me like once we were just, I used to always just play soccer. I used to just be a freestyle like soccer player, I guess what they call it there as
Hmm.
well. And it's like we just used to make these videos on YouTube, and then it went pretty viral. Like, at the time, viral meant like 11,000 views.
Right.
Um, so, all right, we had an audience of people. So I got out this book. It was John Carlton's Kick-Ass Copywriting book.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know what? We'll teach people how to freestyle soccer. And then we wrote all this stuff we'd learned. Like literally, we just got a sales page that John Carlton did before and said, okay, this could work. It was actually for like a fighting course. And we're like, oh, this sort of makes sense.
Hmm.
Fighting and soccer, we just take little tweaks out, sort of training. We took that, put it in, and straight away, like so many like people started buying this course. I'm like, oh
Wow.
wow, like we're not even doing anything special. We didn't even have a course out. We just promised people we're going to teach you how to freestyle and just how to juggle the ball. And then we had like all these people coming in and like we're like, oh, this is freaky, this stuff works. Okay, where do we go from there? And from there, it just took a huge hiatus, sort of forgot about it. And then I went and studied marketing. Like I did a Bachelor of Business and Marketing at RMIT. It's a university in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that, look, there is like a little division for copywriting and direct response, but it would just be so small.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, even at a formal level, people aren't learning this properly at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they need to get that education. Like we would learn big advertisement how it worked, but people don't have these 5 million, $6 million budgets for a Super Bowl, the average
No,
person.
no.
So it's like for the everyday person, it was a huge thing. It's like out of a 4-year course, I probably learned one little month in a semester.
Hmm.
This is how direct response works. And they would say this is what brings in the most amount of sales. And then that's it. It's like they weren't even sales oriented, even at a formal level. So I'm
Right.
like, it doesn't make sense. Why is it like this?
Yeah.
Um, so then slowly, I started learning. I went and got a consulting session with John Carlton, and he taught me just the ins and outs. And then slowly, I just went on Fiverr, went on like Upwork. I started getting more and more clients. One thing led to another. I started working for all these agencies in Australia, and then slowly around the world too. And I guess this has just been my continuous thing. And I do use this on my own business. Like I do have a wedding videography business that I run.
That's
So
right.
it's not like just something like I hope it works for another company. Like I have
Yeah.
to use this stuff every single day to
Hmm.
this day, every single day
Yeah.
on myself. So
That's
um
interesting. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's kind of like a what I call a golden thread, right? Like I feel like people have a natural golden thread through that's their natural talent, and it always keeps cropping up, throughout your life if you listen to it, right?
yes.
And I noticed with you, when you talk about copy and offers, you get really excited about it and you get really into it. You get into the weeds, like, what is this and what is that? And you ask a lot of really compelling questions. Like, not everybody feels that way about it, right? They're just more like, oh, I just got to write an offer or something. But you really, and you've taken the time to really understand psychology, and you've read all the greats, and I love, do you have your backpack on you? Do you have it
I
with
don't
you?
have my, but I carry that
Oh,
backpack everywhere. It's in my
next
car
next
always.
time we'll have to show what's in Ari's backpack,
Yeah.
because you carry around with you these books that are just always you're obsessed with it, right? Like it's a passion, and that's what I love when you get people that have that and they own it and they grow with it. So but now especially it's so confusing out there, and you got to credit Russell Brunson for coming up with ClickFunnels and helping to make the everyday person feel like they could actually get a leg up. But the truth is it's not so easy. It seems easy in concept, but to take what you do visually or what you do live in your business and convert it to words, and have to think through these step by step is not so easy for the average business owner, because they're focusing on what they deliver, not like all this other area. So I do see why they get caught up in getting stuck, or why they get in the wrong hands with the wrong marketing company that doesn't get their messaging or doesn't really have the skills. And so, what would you say to people that are looking to find someone to help them with this? Or, because I mean, not everybody can be a master at it like you, but what would you suggest? Can they reach out to you, or do you, what would you look for in someone to really truly help you craft that great offer and that copy for your business?
To be like really honest, the sales for me is like very easy because people are very connected to their service. So you know what I mean? Like people have like it's almost like their child, mine too, and everyone's like, this is my baby. This is something I've worked so hard for. So it's like anyone can open a door with just this is how you can do it better. Like I already know what you guys are trying to do. Here's how you do it better. And the way I sort of flip their mind is like I use this story all the time. Like There was a story that it was a legendary fisherman. He was just catching so much fish, and people were wondering, how is this guy catching so much fish compared to everyone else? And he just sort of explained, look, everyone else is just worried about the perfect rod, the best technology in that catches the best fish. But he's like, what they don't understand, what I understand is I study the fish. They study the rod, I study the fish.
I
And he's
love
like,
that.
I know exactly what the fish wants. That's how I'm able to catch so many fish. And I think that's the big thing marketers are doing. They're so worried about this software, that software. But I'm like, you're not worried about the human being in front of you. And if
Right.
you just, do you get what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
the fish, I guess. And the more you understand them, that's what's going to build your business. And
I
I guess
love
that's
that.
what, yeah, that makes people really understand. And I think that's going to be like an analogy people will never forget, because I never forgot it myself. And I got told by a guy named Gary Benson Wenger, who's literally the best copywriter alive right now. By that, I mean he's got the most controls, and I can sort of explain what controls mean.
Mhm.
But this is like a direct response at the highest level, where they're saying, we've got 100 copywriters coming in, and whoever's the best out of this bunch, we're going to bring that person, and then we're going to ship it to 5 million, 6 million people. So
Wow.
one word could make a big difference in
Yeah.
response. Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like the more you know, the more you realize there's a lot more intricacies. Like any profession, right? The more you get into it, you realize there's even more and more and more levels. And I think with this, there's so many levels, like, and there's so many different ways you can package it. And I can see why small business owners, get frozen, because they think, and I think the other thing that I've noticed is they often will think of an ad. They're not thinking of the fish, what the fish want to eat, right? I'm going to use that because I love that. What kind of fish do you want to get, and what is the food source that the fish really loves? That's really what you need to put together, right? Because if you're trying to get a yellowfin tuna, they're going to eat something than a little Dora, a little,
And to even hammer it home, like a lot of
yeah,
fish, once they realize tourists come in and they fish, they know they're smart enough to know this is the worms they buy from this. Like they figure it out and they go, no,
yeah,
don't go there because they're the fishermen. Go away from that. But
right.
then a smart fisherman knows this is what everyone else uses. We're going to use this kind of like worms from this soil where they
Hmm.
haven't caught on yet.
Yeah.
So it's like that's by knowing how the fish works. I just want to really hammer that message home.
Absolutely. And knowing, yeah, like, so you could do an analogy of the avatar and where they fit, where they swim, and what, all those things, defining, who your ideal client is and where do they go and all that. And the other thing I've noticed now, especially because technology is so much easier, and I don't mean this as a slam on anybody, but there's so many marketers that are coming out of the woodwork because they see, honestly, an easy buck but they don't really have the talent to really figure out what, like you said, what the fish eat, where the fish are. They haven't studied those things. They just they copy what everybody else is saying, and they put it into a same mnemonic, kind of what I call the Sam Ovens effect, right? Which I love Sam Ovens, and we talked about him before, but I help this, do this, because it's the same template, which is a great, easy thing too, I think, for people that don't know, but it doesn't really level you up. It kind of has a stop and gap. And I think that I've seen a lot of people get, I call it food for the wolves, meaning that, they just don't know what they don't know. And they end up wondering, gosh, I spent all this money and I'm not even getting the kind of leads that I want. And it took me a long time to figure out what the problem was there. When I went through these iterations with different companies, I'd be so frustrated because I'm like, you're not getting me what I really need. But the truth is they couldn't, because they really didn't know how to ask me the right questions. They didn't know how to dive deep into, who is my ideal audience? I mean, they did it at a surface level, but they really didn't know the nuances because they didn't know how to ask and pull it out, right? Like, how to pull it out. And then I took Don Miller's class, and that to me was something that really helped me understand things, at a deeper level, but certainly not written word as well. The concepts were really great. So I think as business owners, I would encourage them to really learn at least concepts better. So when they do talk to someone like you, that they can actually give you what you need to make it more efficient. And what do you think about that? That they should be.
I think it's very true. Like when I work for like companies, I go in there and it's like this environment where, not all companies, by the way, but just
Mhm.
companies in general, everything has to be systemized. Everything. That's just how it works. If someone at the top, you have to hire people below you, and it sort of loses the essence, because the person at the top was the person who built it from the ground up, who was always going to have the most skin in the game.
Yeah.
So everyone else, it's more like some people are very passionate, some people it's just a job for them, and that's fair enough. But it's just very, okay, this is the standard operating procedure, this is how we go through it, and it's very algorithmic. So it's like you can't know a human being at a very sharp level. It's very, this is the system, whatever the system says, we can't really go off that system because we don't know. We're
Right.
covered by this standard operating system, like operating procedure. But a human being sort of doesn't work like that. We're not linear
Mhm.
animals, like
Mhm.
if you want to put that term, but we're
Yeah.
not linear. Like we can't understand people with just left brain thinking. We
Right.
sort of have to go into the heart and soul of that person, and that takes a bit of like, I guess, empathy, a bit of like soft skills that it's very hard to put on paper.
Yep.
And it's somewhat intuitive as well about what this person, what how they think in their mind, what they go through. And a lot of this, the problems I've had with some copywriters, this is very like robotic sounding even before AI. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a human to human conversation. Like
Right.
even like we help this, help that. It's not how the human being really talks. It's like if you just say like, this is how we do this and this is
Yeah.
why it helps you. It's more a human touch. It's more how you'd speak to a person right next to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also the public, now that we've been through enough of this online, we're starting to get immune to those very simple things that used to work 5 years ago, right? Used to work like, oh, wow, you helped me do it. Now it's like people just glaze over because they hear the same thing from everybody the same exact way. And this is something that I bring up in the Profit Academy for the beauty providers is like there's 5,000 med spas in a city block, let's say, just for example. You all offer the same laser. You all offer the same exact treatments. Your credentials are the same to the consumer. If you don't pull out your magic sauce and be able to articulate it in your copy or your imagery or whatever, you're not going to get that high level success that you really want because the consumer can't tell your laser versus and they're buying into the laser. It's such I really flip the script on them that it's not about what you're selling, it's about what's so different about you. Like really define what you're bringing to the table because their laser experience is pretty much the same everywhere they go, just like someone buying coffee. I mean, yeah, there's differences, but why do I choose one coffee shop versus another coffee shop, right? So I don't think they're doing a deep enough dive thinking the right way to get their copy to be compelling. I think they're thinking the way that they've always thought, which is what can I discount? What can I do a BOGO? What can I send for, the special this month? And I'm unwinding all that because that's not how you build a long-term client is by your specials. That's not it. So they have to stop this madness. But a lot of them, they're like, well, then if that's not it, what do I do? And I'm like, well, let's talk to Ari. Let's try. I mean, you're going to help me with my copy even because it is hard to translate it into I mean, how do you take who you are and put it in a funnel, and get it just right where the consumer's like, I got it. You hit me. I mean, I don't think it's easy at all. I think it's very, very difficult. And I think people like you, like I'm going to say the Ogilvies of the world that are just masters at this really bring something special to the table. And that's my personal opinion because I know the tools and I still struggle with it, so you might think it's easy, Ari, but for someone like a lot of
No,
us,
I,
it's
I
not.
honestly don't like. I honestly, everything I agree with you. Everything you're saying is absolutely correct. It gets harder and harder. It's just because there's more competition every day that even like, let's say, for example, you make some kind of copywriting, they'll steal your copywriting. If it's good, it'll get stolen. Just watch and see. It happens all the time. I've seen bits of my copywriting being taken by other companies. I'm like, okay, cool. They use that. Like I've even had my life story taken, like where I've said, this is my issue. This is what I started off with. And I see another company using that same story. So it happens all the time. There's no, people will always do that. Whatever works, people will take it. But I think the biggest differentiating factor is two things. Just have a product that is different and innovative. That's going to be the biggest thing ever. And it has to be fresh, new. Because once people get used to one idea, it sort of just bypasses our brain. Like we've seen this before. This concept really goes deep in a book called Purple Cow by Seth Godin.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I have it.
yeah,
I
so
think I
he
have it.
really goes
Yeah.
into like, now he's saying, look, there's no such thing as a business that's not going to be able to survive without this because people, everything else becomes commoditized. By that,
Yep.
I mean, like,
Yep.
if there, what Dawn was saying, if there's not a difference between this coffee and that coffee, why am I paying $8 for a coffee when I can just pay $1 at 7-Eleven or your local, you know?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's different because at one point resources are scarce, which means like there's not a differentiating product in like, let's say, for example, this candle was made in this mountain. It's like the story that goes with it. You know what I mean? How it makes them feel. I
Exactly.
buy my colognes for $2,000 at some point, and there's like $50 colognes. But it's the story I tell myself, like, oh, this was made for a king of Oman. This is what
Yeah.
you know, like. So for sure, copywriting won't actually help you unless your product is good. Like, there's nothing like words. We're not like
Yeah.
we are
Magician.
magicians that I guess in some way we understand the
Yeah.
human mind, but it's
Yeah.
like the product is in my eyes number one. If
Mhm.
there's someone that has a unique product, definitely like copywriting will take them to the next level.
Yeah.
But if they don't, that's not going to help. Like I'm not going to be able to just put some gold on a
Yeah,
piece of crap.
you're not going to make magic. So in that vein, what I tell, beauty professionals or medical aesthetics or med spas is that if you have the same exact laser as your neighbor down the street or whatever, you have to find a story behind it to make it, maybe you flip the narrative on what you do in your aftercare treatment, or you have to educate them on what is it different about them coming to see you versus down the street, because literally in that profession, there is only so many variations, and the consumer really doesn't care what the name of the laser is. They really don't care about the product. They care about how is it going to help me, and do I trust this brand? Like, do I love going in there? So again, you talk about customer experience, right? And I often tell them, I say, you really have to think about how to keep your customers sticky. Why should they keep? There's a 50% loss of retention rate for med spas and injectors and all of them, because they're not thinking that way. They're just like, oh, I'll just do Botox. I'm a dentist. I do Botox. Well, okay, there's a million people that do Botox. What is the unique experience that you're giving them, or like you said, the message, the story? It's really hard because they're all offering exactly the same thing. So they really have to start thinking more, and they have to start learning these skills a lot more if they want to survive, right? Or they're just going to be the discount corner shop and the BOGO shop, forever. And I think you can take almost anything. I love it. Like the Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen, right? Sell me this pen.
Mhm.
And if they could think of sell me this pen for all of their services in a unique way, and then come to someone like you and say, all right, I think we figured it out. We figured out our story. We know what's different about us. And, we've got some proven success we know that we're attracting these kind of clients, and they're all kind of saying the same thing about us. Okay, please help us craft a little bit. You could help them with that. But if they just come to you with like, oh, I have a pencil to sell, figure it out. All right, it's not going to work. And I think that's what they do. They rely too much on marketing companies to come up with a magic bullet and solve all their problems. And they're not willing to invest the time to actually dig deeper into what their own message is. And I would say that is the one thing moving forward they have to start doing.
100% agreed. There's like a quote in the Art of War. It says like you could in 1 in 1,000 battles you will not lose if you understand yourself or you understand the enemy. But I guess you could put that in a better term of like just understand what you're selling and just who you're selling to. As simple as that. If you go deeper into those two concepts, like for example, a lot of people say, "I've got a product, help me sell it." I'm like, no, you've got the paradigm wrong, because the first thing you should have focused on is there a big market for this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see the market first, and then from the market, we create a product from there.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Rather than
Yeah.
just, look, I have these random things to sell. Would someone like to buy it? But
Right.
look, if there was a big passionate index for, let's say, golf, and they just want their golf swings to be 10 meters further, a product is going to work very well in that
Yeah.
market. So it's just, this is what the market wants. Give it to them. Give it to them. Give it to them.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
think that's a better paradigm to think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always the first thing I tell people is just your first number one important thing is your market. Do not move from that number one step into step 2 and 3 and 4, because a lot of people are like in step 5, like, oh, I'm trying to find this little particular thing in my product change. But I'm like, but who is your market? Oh, I don't know who the market is yet.
It's
What?
everybody. It's women. It's like, okay, there's all kinds of women. I would agree with you 100% on that. And I think with the beauty profession and the beauty providers, because there are a lot of them, they're brick and mortar, most of them, they don't even think about that other than, all right, that location looks good. I'll just go. They go by location first, and they don't think about often their audience that they really want to attract. And then they wonder why they're not gathering that, because in the area they picked, let's say there's an area called Yakima here, which is agricultural community, right? And there's people that open businesses, and it's like, well, that's agricultural. They're not going to be Beverly Hills ladies that are willing to drop $5,000 on a package. They're agricultural. They have limited budget. So if you chose to open there, you got to think of a different strategy, if that's where you want to be. So I think they don't think that through. I think there's a myth out there they keep driving into beauty professionals that just open the door and women are your clients. It's like, it's not like that. They're not all your clients at all, right? There's a
Yeah.
Tiffany shopper, there's a Fred Meyer shopper, there's a, in the back seat of someone's trunk shopper, doesn't care about I mean, you got to define all that, and you can't expect a marketing company to do all that work for you. So do the work and learn the skills, which we teach in Profit Academy and that you use as well, and then bring it to someone like you to help them craft the way that they present it, is what I would say. Right now, one last thing, Ari, tell me about offers. I hear this all the time. What's your offer, Dawn? What's your offer? What is an offer? Can you just tell us what's an offer?
Yeah, so people call them, like, the new managerial terms, I guess they call themselves offer owners. So we own an offer,
Offer
and they're
owners,
running
okay.
multiple offers. And there's a lot of smart marketers who are running multiple offers, but to the same funnel. I don't know if that makes sense to, like, funnels. I don't know if what your audience, if they know those terms or not. I have to be careful. But a funnel is just basically just a, a sales
A
funnel, I
funnel.
guess that is the
Yeah, a
perfect
pipe
word,
that they
that
slide
just
down. Yeah.
brings people in as a lead source to your business. And some people use the incentive of, like, okay, this is a lead magnet for us to bring people in. And I guess an offer is just the biggest incentive driver, because as a human being, the biggest drive we have is our two drives of incentive bias and punishment bias. So you can see that in anywhere. So even the fact that, like, the governments use it as, if you be good, we pay you. With that pay, you can do whatever you like. But if you don't follow the rules, the punishment is you will be in jail. So
Right.
it's always the case. Like, even with
Yeah.
animals, like, okay, you put the incentive of honey, you're going to see ants coming in and wanting that honey.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that's the biggest bias we have. So the biggest lever pull, I guess, is the offer, because if you can make your offer very, very irresistible, that's what brings in the incentive bias for people. I like to say that, look, the market is the most important thing, because if there's no market, what's an offer going to do?
Right.
Nothing. But
Exactly.
once you've got your market perfectly and you've got a really irresistible offer, just the copy will just fly that to the moon. But without that offer, a copy's not going to do much, because there's no actual offer to sell.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So people need to understand that you've got to have a solid business, right? You have to really deliver something that people want, that the market wants, and be in a position to articulate what's different about you if there's a lot of competition, right? And
Do you want me to use
so,
an example for this?
yeah, please do.
Because I think people understand better with
Yeah.
examples
Yeah.
rather than just that. So, fresh pressed olive oil club. If you guys want to search that up, they were like a really, really high end olive oil company. So what they did was, like, look, we got this olive oil. A lot of people don't even realize with olive oil. I didn't know this before this copy. So a lot of people don't realize with olive oil, the regular ones you get at the shops are all rancid, all rancid. They've
Oh.
already gone past their due date. Like, olive oil, the way you get it fresh is meant to sort of be bitter to the back of your tongue. And it's like
Ah.
very, like, oh, this is how olive oil tastes.
Yeah.
So what they did is sort of explain, like, this is our olive oil. And they sold a big bottle of olive oil for $1.
Hmm.
So what they'll do is, like, irresistible offer to people that are obsessed with cooking. Say, look, this is the real olive oil. If you want all the real health benefits that you hear about olive oil, you're not going to get it from the shopping center olive oil, because they're all rancid. So forget about that. This olive oil gives you the real healthy glow, everything, but you can try it for $1, because they sort of understood the arithmetic that if people buy once and it's a really good product, they're going to
Yep.
buy forever. So they were
Yep.
willing to lose on the short term. They maybe lost $500,000 worth of sales at the start, but then they knew the second year they were up $800,000, $900,000.
Oh,
But it
gotcha.
made sense on both sides. So when
Yeah.
people would try that olive oil, they're like, oh man, this is much better than my other olive oil. I'm going to buy a second bottle. And the second bottle was $38.
Right. And was this a
Right.
subscription where it would come every month or something, like one of those type of
Well,
things?
yeah, they did say, like, this is the first one. They just got a lot of people in the door, because who's not going to try an olive oil for a
Right.
dollar?
That's an irresistible offer with no risk,
Exactly.
with low risk, right?
Low
So
risk. Well,
low
almost no
risk.
risk, like a
Yeah,
dollar
a
for something
dollar.
so good.
Yeah,
But that's how it
exactly.
works. And the copy, like, that just explained everything I said before. So
Yep.
they understood the market very well. People
Mhm.
that are into cooking have a huge passion index, and they're willing to spend.
Yep.
Number one, ticked off. The
Yep.
second one, huge irresistible offer with very, very low, like, the high reward, very low risk.
Yeah.
The third, it was a great product, and they explained the product very well from a guy who was just very passionate chef. He was known for someone who just never, like, put any bad products in any of his food. So we had a trusted name, but they went to that person. Like it was Gary Benson-Vinger's job where he said, okay, this is the product people want. This is
Yeah,
the authority we need. Bring him in. And it worked like a charm. But
that's
all those
fantastic.
things aligned perfectly.
Yeah, all those things, those steps. So they do talk about the, irresistible offer with low risk, right? Like somebody who's a cold market, what are they willing to try that doesn't risk a whole lot, right? Everybody, you think about all of those. I think of this guy I still remember from San Diego. He had, if those from Houston, San Diego will know this, Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. So he was a big car dealer, used car dealership, and he would always have a thing, and everything ended with 9995, 14999. Every car ended with a 95, and he would have this thing called his dog Spot, and it would always be some weird exotic animal. I mean, nobody forgets this guy. All these years later, we still remember Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. But he would make the offer. He's like, look at this car, ridiculous price, I'm giving it away, so it's just he was way ahead of his time, or he knew these concepts intuitively, because who wouldn't want to go there for a $9.99? And then of course then they upsell you to another version. They just want to get you in the door. And that's what I often tell the beauty providers. I said, start out with something that's easy to get someone in the door, and then you slowly upsell them once they build trust with you and they like you and they see that you're brand and they feel that warm fuzzy with you. You don't hit them over the head when they walk in the door with, a high ticket without them, having some little breadcrumbs, right? So, well, this is great, Ari. This is great information. I think in the profession, the women, small business, but also beauty and all of these providers that are trying to serve and help so many people, but don't have a clue on this. They really are lost. And they're doing so many things, that are kind of like taking away their energy from what could really be working for them. So that's why I want to do this. I want to educate them, get them thinking differently, realizing that, look, I don't really have to dance on reels 24 hours a day to get a client in the door in a 20-mile radius. I just need to understand who I'm serving, what to tell them with my story, and then provide a good offer that they can't say no to, right? Like pretty simple, but not so simple. So these concepts are really great. Now, if somebody wanted to work with you or are you currently doing consulting on this? Are you offering, or you have any way that someone could work with you at this time, or not yet? Or you're offering courses, right? What's your next?
Yeah, I'm in this point in my life because I used to just do it for companies, be a freelancer. And I thought, look, it's better for me just to work with a few people and just help them grow over time rather than just once and then they're coming back all the time. So yeah, I only work with 7 people now, but I do consulting for people. Just go, look, this is how I would do it. And it really depends. Like some people said, look, I just need this done. Of course, I'll go in there and just help them out with that. But the reason I even had to put myself out there, because I'm a very introverted type of person. Like I just like to read most of the time.
I know it took me a long time to get you on here.
Yeah, like I don't like to put myself out there, like because the reason I used to do copywriting is because like even when I first started, I was in sales, and then like a lot of people, the thing that brought me back to copywriting, after working, I used to work at a bank, work sales for them. I worked with Forex, and I even say to people, look, it's better to just work as a salesperson first and then level up to a copywriter, because a lot of copywriters, they're in this boat of like, oh, I want to hide from the world. They're introverts like me, but they're like, I just want to write and not have to worry about sales. I'm like, that's never going to work, because you need to know sales really well.
Yeah.
And when you're actually working in phone sales or like Zoom sales like this, you pick up a lot of nuances that you won't be able to pick up just from research. It's the real human beings speaking to you, telling you their fears and everything, one face to face. But anyway, we're diverging a little bit. Like, just people that need to figure out this stuff, that I always just say, like, I'm their best friend. Like, come to me. I've figured out a lot of the stuff that you're going to have to deal with, and a lot of people are confused. And I'll use an example, even with Russell Brunson. His sort of promising was like, you are just one funnel away from being a millionaire, which just wasn't true, but it's just a big promise which seemed true. But I'm like, but where's the leads coming from? Like, where's the leads going to come from then? And they're like, oh, I don't know, we'll worry about that later. I'm like, no.
But a funnel's going to do it. It's going to fix it.
Yeah, but the funnel is going to change everything. But like they didn't have that understanding, where I'm like, oh man, like, and I know Russell Brunson must have known this, but they're like, okay, like, this is a big promise everyone wants. But people didn't have that understanding that, okay, now you've got the funnel, but where's the leads? Like, where's your lead source? And when people used to say, I don't know, I'm like, this is really bad. This is really bad. Like, they don't know who the person they're speaking to, and they don't know where the leads are coming from. So it was kind of scary to me to figure, like, this is what people are thinking. Like you yourself, you know a lot about marketing, and I was very shocked to speak with Dawn. I'm like, wow, you know a lot, but that's not like 95% of people. They don't have a clue. They honestly
Exactly.
don't have a clue.
Exactly. And it wasn't like I mean, I think intuitively I knew some things. I was always really good at sales, like I tell my story elsewhere when I was little and but I really, just kind of knew intuitively how to work with people and how to move them through a journey. That was something that was so easy. But then when all of this online happened, right, when we all had to start doing Facebook, and there's so much skin in the game that you could lose so much money if you didn't figure it out. And it could make or break your business on certain things that I was like, I have to learn more. So I just dove in, and that's where I had to, because if you don't, you're just food for the wolves, right? If you don't know and you're hiring someone who really doesn't know, you're both clueless, right? Or they think they know. And believe me, I've gone through people that I was like so thankful that I knew this stuff, because I could tell right away they didn't have the skills. I'm like, I'm sorry, but this isn't going to work because I'm already at this level. If you can't be beyond me, then why am I hiring you?
What's the point? Yeah.
And that's something that business owners, and I think a lot of women in business, don't take seriously enough. Like, they kind of want to be nice, okay, and they go with somebody who just shows up and says, yeah, we'll get you these leads, but they don't really know anything else. And so that's why we made the academy, because it teaches you everything, how to talk in smooth sales, like, the journey, the soft, no icky, scripty stuff, how to intuitively just listen to your clients, and then understanding lead gen, right? And then this part with copy. But, we can only do so much. So, if they need help, like in a big way, then maybe Ari will have something for the everyday person soon. Maybe a
No,
book
but
or
like
something.
you can always like this is with me. I'm bringing out a lot of content to help people, and the reason I said yes to Dawn is because I knew she would understand me. It's not like
Yep.
someone that's just gonna ask me empty questions that just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that was number one. Number two was I knew the necessary evil is to help people that don't know.
Yep.
Because even I would be so confused if I didn't have the right information. They sort of need someone to just sort of give it to them on just a human-based term. Like, this is actually what they're trying to say, that they don't put it in those terms. And there's a
Right.
lot of empty promises and I guess
Yep.
lies. Like, some companies, I will sit down and they'll just literally template a website, sell
I
it to
know.
someone and be like, we coded this, make them spend $10,000, and they'll just sort of laugh in the background like,
I
haha,
know.
like it cost us $100, $200. And it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't
No.
sit right with me that they don't know what's actually going on.
Yes.
And even if I just tell someone, look, you're on the right track, just do this a little bit different, that's absolutely fine with me.
Yeah.
That would be better than like anything else I could do. So yeah, I always just think like the way I've positioned myself is like I'm just a normal human being. Like I'm not trying to position myself as marketer, even though I do get pigeonholed into that. I'm
Yeah.
just someone that just really understands. Like I spend around 4 hours a day. It's not too much, but it's just enough every day that I'm learning a bit more. And I sort of tell people like this is what I do. This is how maybe you should think about the situations too. And there's different people I'm speaking to. If I'm speaking to a marketer, I say this is how I've improved. If I'm speaking to just someone who's on like this is just our service, we don't really care about the marketing side, I just tell them, okay, this is just a bigger picture of how to look at it. And I like to say, look, don't think about goals because they're very narrow focused. Think about systems. And what I mean by system is like there's something called a theory of constraints model. So if you think bigger picture, find your constraints. They're always either a human-based constraint or a system constraint. So if you look at yourself, let's say, for example, use Dawn, put that there. Okay, we have a constraint of a system, a lead system. All right, how can we make this lead system flow more if that's a constraint? And then we have the human element constraint of, I'm just confused, I'm going to go get some help. Let's fix that. And you find that every part of your life, and it makes you look at it in the macro, not just in the micro, because a lot of these companies are saying this is the micro goal. We're going to get you this lead. But if you don't understand it from like a holistic, bigger picture macro level, you're always going to be confused. Like
Yeah.
with me, I know, all right, this is my business. These are my constraints. I need to find, okay, someone who understands email marketing. This is a constraint here.
Yep.
I need to find good people that understand this. So I
Yep.
have it on a bigger picture, but I know people are very myopic in their view and they just don't have that wider eagle eye vision. So
I think
that's number one.
I agree with you, and I would say that what I have noticed as well, especially like I said in the beauty sector, is that they want to almost put their head in the sand and go, ugh, I'm not a marketer. I'm going to just hire someone, let them take care of it. It's like you're basically giving your business away to somebody. You're literally handing over the whole foundation of your business growth to somebody you barely know, or you don't even know if they have the skills. So you just can't, in this day moving forward, you'll be toast. You'll be gone. Like you won't, or you'll have this really painful growth process that maybe you don't ever grow. I see them year after year in exactly the same spot they were a year before. And after another one. I know women that have been in beauty in the industry for over 20 years in a really high level position and still make the same income they made 20 years ago. They're not growing because they just don't put the energy, and they go through the painful process. In their opinion, it's painful to sit down and actually learn something new and learn these skills that you must know as a business owner, because at the end of the day, it's you Inc., right? CEO Inc. You're, the buck stops with you. Even if you have employees a little bit, you still have to know these things. So it's that's why we're here, to wake them up and shake them up and get people to realize that you can learn these. It's not as difficult. You just have to dedicate the time, and you got to learn from experts like Ari, right? You got to learn from people that really know what they're doing and not listen to these groups where everybody doesn't know what they're talking about and giving advice, And so,
Yep.
And invest in learning, like you said. So if you're terrible with email, or, and I do that too. I look, it's okay, we need email campaign. All right, let me find someone who's really good at that and put that together. Oh, I need someone to run my, CRM system and get the AI chat going. Okay, I'm going to get a tech guy to do that. But at the end of the day, if I don't know what they're supposed to do, how on earth can I delegate? I mean, so it just comes back to, you have to know more than the people, at least if they're doing a good job. So Ari, this has been awesome. And I want to do, next time I want to do the Pip Deck challenge, and they probably don't even know what Pip decks are. I'm in love with, I have them by my bed. I look at them and I pull out a card and I go,
They're really,
they're amazing. So I'm so in love with them. So let's do that next time. And again, thanks, Ari. And I'll have his information, things like that. But really, it's just to wake you up and think. Any parting words of advice for someone delving into getting better with their marketing?
I just think, like, find someone you trust. If that's me, fair enough. If that's Dawn, fair enough. They can lead you, push you a bit further. Like, just having that conversation at the start, it's just that little tiny step. Move that little tiny step, because it always starts with a decision. And I think people are stuck in just indecision, and that indecision is a decision that keeps you stuck. So just take that one step forward. Like, if you just take that one step, you don't know where it's going to lead. So that's what I tell people. Just find someone that you really trust, that, and search them up, see what they've done, what their vibe is, have that conversation. But that conversation, because Dan Sullivan always says, it's not what you know, it's who is in your corner. And I find that very true. It's just who. It's the who is the most important thing to get to your goal. So if your goal is growth, then find someone you do resonate with, and that's the key for everything. So
I think
that's
I would
my
agree.
last thing.
I would agree with you too, but I love that one-liner, that indecision is a decision. That's a good one. We'll leave it on that. All right, Ari, we'll
Yes,
talk to you again with
it
Pip
was
Deck.
amazing.
Okay.
Yep. See you.